Hey everyone, so Jamie here, the Triathlon nutrition coach on various social media channels or NutriTri on my website. So in today's video, I'm going to discuss with you what supplements are best for endurance sport and triathlon really in particular. Because triathletes are the kind of client base that I generally work with, although I do work quite a lot with single sports, so kind of runners and cyclists mainly. So anyway, enough of that. So what supplements would you benefit from taking? So I'm going to go through a few and explain each one. So firstly, and the most kind of obvious I guess, is a protein supplement. So that usually comes in the form of a powder that you mix with water, all sorts of things on the market. Personally, I would use a whey protein powder because it's kind of a complete protein, meaning it's got a full range of all of the amino acids in there. You can get other ones like rice and pea, etc., which haven't got quite the same profile of aminos, although there are some vegan protein powders now available which mix a few different like peas and rice, etc., and then create like a full profile of amino acids. But basically a whey protein, assuming you've not got an intolerance to milk or you've not removed dairy for ethical reasons, is a great place to start. Now, the benefit of taking a protein powder is obvious. Most people's diet, especially kind of athletes and people who do sport, is deficient in protein. They're not getting enough protein. Protein, obviously, as we all know, helps with recovery, repair, allowing the muscles to regenerate and allow you, therefore, to train better the next day and get stronger, basically. So it's not just for kind of power-based sports and people who are looking to get massive, like me. Obviously, I'm not massive, but so yeah, get some protein powder. How much you should have varies from person to person, depends on the intensity of training, but one shake a day as a start would be a good idea. You can also mix it in with things like yogurt, like Greek yogurt, that's quite nice. Mix it in with oats, that kind of thing. So yeah, protein powder, probably the number one. Secondly, BetaAlanine. So BetaAlanine is, it kind of buffers lactic acid, or that's the suggestion at least. So when you take BetaAlanine, one of the side effects is people get little tingles often in their ears or like the back of their hands and stuff like that. So obviously in a sport like triathlon, you will be producing lactic. It depends on the intensity of the training that you're doing. So it would be most useful kind of in intervals basically. But most people will be doing intervals as part of their training. So if then you can work harder in those intervals because you're not producing as much lactic, or the lactic that you're producing is kind of lessened, then that will help you train harder for longer. And as such, theoretically get faster. So beta-alanine is something you couldn't just take it before you did that session. Say you did one interval session a week, you couldn't just take it before that session because it's kind of stored in the body. So you need to, it's a bit like creatine, if anyone's ever used creatine, you have to kind of build up the kind of muscle stores, and so there's enough in you basically to make it work properly. So that takes a little bit of time. So a little scoop a day, you don't need much, it would be enough, probably before training. And that's worth a go, I think. It's maybe not something you would use in the winter when you're doing more volume, but yeah, certainly as intensity increases, something that is worth a go. Then we've got some more obvious things like vitamin D3, which, I mean, it's winter here at the moment. Probably don't get enough sunlight. I mean, I know I don't spend a huge amount of time outdoors in the winter. I try to, but it's cold and, you know, it's not nice. So more training inside, less daylight. I mean, it goes dark here at 4:30 at night. It doesn't get light until 8 o'clock in the morning. So there's way less exposure to sunlight. And vitamin D, as we know, is kind of critical against our immunity. So having some vitamin D in the winter is something to consider. It's probably not something, again, that you need in the summer, especially when you do this sort of sport, because you will be outside training a fair bit, so you don't need it in the same way. But yeah, maybe give that a whirl as well. Then we've got things like fish oil. So fish oil is a very standard supplement, so it wouldn't be something that you'd just recommend for endurance athletes, as wouldn't vitamin D3. But fish oil, on the whole, has got a huge array of benefits cardiovascularly. It's a fat that perhaps is kind of deficient in most of our diets, assuming that your diet isn't on point. So having more omega-3s in your diet through fish oil is a good way. It's good for cardiovascular health, etc. So you're probably not going to notice a huge kind of impact on your performance, but it's just good for your health. Ideally, like with all of this stuff, you would get it from food, but convenience of supplements is where they really kind of win. Some people would suggest that taking fish oils, I've read stuff in the past, about if you take more fish oils, it will allow you to kind of get leaner and stuff like that. Not sure I buy that, but worth a go, I guess. What else have we got? Oh yeah, greens powder. So a greens powder, now this is quite good, I think, and again it depends on your circumstances. So I don't take a greens powder because I eat shitloads of veg and fruit basically. So I'm lucky, you know, I work from home most of the time, I don't travel an awful lot, and as such I have fruit at my breakfast, I have a massive salad at lunchtime, I have another bit of fruit throughout the day, I have a huge amount of vegetables with my dinner, like that much that I can't fit it on the plate, I need like a couple of bowlfuls. So I don't really need that, but a greens powder is basically kind of like a drink of lots of kind of mashed up veg and fruit and stuff. So it's a way of getting an increased amount of micronutrients into your diet quite easily, so you swig it down. So as such, you don't need to, well, it would still be better to eat it from vegetables, but it's kind of like a little insurance policy. So if you travel is a great reason to use a greens powder. Because when we're away from home, it's often a little bit more difficult to eat vegetables, especially if you're eating out in restaurants, because you know they're going to give you more things like chips and potatoes and meat and fish, etc., and laden it with flavour. And vegetables aren't the most flavoursome things. Not in their raw form, natural form anyway, you can obviously make them flavoursome. But a restaurant, you know, generally speaking, if you do get a bit, you'll get like 2 asparagus spears or something. So yeah, it's good to kind of have that in that kind of scenario. Or if you're lazy or you don't like veg, again, I guess it's a good way of kind of getting that micronutrition into your diet. But as always, would always be better eating the actual vegetable for various reasons, both fibre, etc. Where are we now? Magnesium. So magnesium is an interesting one again. This is kind of, the suggestion is that we're all deficient in magnesium due to sort of farming methods and stuff like that. So foods which would be rich in magnesium, because farming has changed and evolved, and kind of foods don't absorb as much stuff through the soil, etc. There isn't as much magnesium in the plants, etc., that we eat. So having a magnesium supplement can help. Now magnesium supplements are interesting. I've used them a few times in my life. The first time was as a powder that I'd kind of mixed in a drink, swallowed it down. Anyway, I did that. I got my measurements wrong the next day. Well, in fact, I don't even think it was the next day, maybe even later on that day. Bit of stomach ache, nipped to the toilet, everywhere. Diarrhea. Basically, I didn't know what it was at the time. Then I realised that it was because I'd taken too much magnesium. I think I was meant to take 5 grams and I had more like 50. So obviously a schoolboy error, and not one I repeated again. I was okay the next day. But there's other ways of having magnesium. So the suggestion is that perhaps it's absorbed better through the skin. So there's some transdermal magnesium that's available in kind of sprays where you'll spray it on parts of your body, or perhaps more kind of regularly used is kind of Epsom salts and things like that, where you put them in a bath, you lie in the bath and you absorb it through the skin. So the purpose of magnesium again is recovery. It helps with kind of the muscles repairing, it kind of helps with sleep and relaxation and stuff like that. So if you struggle with sleep, it's well worth trying some magnesium, and especially perhaps in a bath before bed. So there we go. So to recap, we've got protein, BetaAlanine, fish oil, greens powder, vitamin D3 and magnesium. As with all supplements, better to get it from your diet, If you can't for whatever reason, they are convenient, give them a go, try them out. Don't just do it for like a week, you need to give it some time to allow them to kind of absorb and work with your body. Give it a go, see what happens, and yeah. Oh, by the way, subscribe, that's what I'm going to do. I always forget this bit. Subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Cheers.